Hi everyone. Can you hear me in the back? Perfect. A few disclaimers. Just a reminder for everybody to keep their masks on and remember to keep the 1.5 meter distance, even if you're from the same household. We have people walking around in yellow vests that are part of the security team to make sure that the COVID rules are followed. It's not specifically a sit-in, so depending on whether you're more comfortable sitting or standing, that's perfectly fine. And I do encourage you, if you're able to stand during the chants and when we start making noise, to do so. So yeah, we have a really great program today. We have many speakers, we have artists who are going to play music for us or recite poetry. But before we start, I just want to remind everybody about why exactly we're here today. Because ultimately we're not here to have a fun little time or to take some nice pictures for social media. We're here because since 2014, over 20,000 refugees have been left to die at European borders. And that number has never stopped growing. We're here because reckless and racist narratives by the media, by politicians, have led to Asians around the world being persecuted and terrorized and harassed more than ever. We are here because openly Islamophobic Dutch politicians continue to grow, they continue to gain power. And we are here because there has still been no justice for Black people who have been killed at the hands of the police in this country and in every other country. We're here because systemic racism thrives in the Netherlands, to the point where right-wing and far-right politicians such as Thierry Baudet, such as Geert Wilders, such as Mark Rutte, can openly deny institutional racism, make jokes about blackface, ethnically profile families, and still face absolutely no consequences. And today we're here because fuck that. We're here to make noise, to show that there are still people in this country who give a shit, to show that we refuse to be ignored. We're here to demand to be heard. So when we chant today and when we make noise, holding back is simply not an option. We need to demand attention for every Black, Indigenous, and person of color who has had to suffer immensely because of the system that we live in. We're here to demand attention, show solidarity, and show resistance. Thank you. Before we start with any speakers, we're going to make sure to start off loudly with our first round of chanting. Again, if you're able to stand up, I encourage you to do so. And there are people in the crowd with megaphones who are going to guide us through our first round of chanting.
Come on, make some noise already! Oh.
No justice, no peace, no racist police. No justice, no peace, no racist police. No justice, no peace, no racist police. justice, no peace, no racist police. Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Racist cops have got to go! Hey, hey! Ho, ho! Racist cops have got to go! Okay, okay. I love the enthusiasm. But now we're gonna start with our first speakers. Their names are Irene and Collins, and they are going to be performing a poem that they wrote for us. So Irene and Collins, here they are. Yes, give it up for Irene and Collins.
Dear Mr. Ogunsuyi, please provide us a copy of your passport. We do not believe that you are from Germany, or at least Ogunsuyi, which I can't even pronounce, doesn't sound German to me.
Well, I am a tax-paying citizen of the Republic of Germany. And according to the requirements, I'm not sending it. And you know what? I'll be at the interview. So see you next week. Wow.
Wow.
Dear racism.
Dear creator of all race, don't you know that there is only one race? Isn't it high time we amend the tale for our children's own sake? We say it is high time you acknowledge your mistakes. You call it migrant crisis. However, isn't it on your behalf we are here of all place? We've left home base to remind you, you started this case, you wanted us caged. You brought this turmoil to the world. Your apologies must be staged, or how else can we explain this tale while we are being killed by your race? Where is your outrage? Tatiana Jefferson, Pamela Turner, Breonna Taylor, and the list goes on and on. The costs are higher than you claim. You take, and give back pain. Secrets you've kept. The bills you've swept under the rug, and you ask of us to move on. Yesterday, I was told I had inherited just pain. Today, I know I am a descendant of the Dahomey reign. I am from the kingdom of Benin. Yes, with bronze sculptures and bas relief. Yes, those you looted from our midst. I pay tribute to the Far East. I feel the ties to my roots as my heart beats. To the souls of my ancestors, to say the least, they'll keep jumping into new flesh. Rest assured, they'll keep demanding royal crest. And what we request, those third world countries you created, can they be rightfully first?
Dear racism, how far have you come? Same story, just a different page. Did you know that the worst pandemic of humanity is you? Dear racism, you're so embedded in the system, even the unborn knows you. Now, tell me, what do you then say in the school, in the 5th grade, in the class of geography, where kids see this beautiful Africa as one country? After all, tomatoes is from Spain, but orange, mangoes, and coffee, cacao, are from Africa. The story of a 10-year-old little brother. Or racism. As much as I feel outraged when I think about you, I think about George Floyd, whose death moved over billions of people to the streets in 2020. So you see, dear racism, we don't die, we multiply. Oh yes, we multiply. So how about you work on your inferiority complex and your self-hatred? For because of you, we live in a world of paradox. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. But wait a minute, let me finish. An eye for an eye will only make us blind, isn't it? Talk to me. Yeah, racism. An eye for an eye will only make us blind. How about you work on yourself? How about you learn how to respect? You don't have to like us. Oh no, you don't have to like us. But respect, you have to. It is fundamental. How about you learn how to respect the black queen? How about you learn how to respect the woman with the hijab? How about you learn how to respect the Asian people, for crying out loud? How about you learn how to respect the black man? Because you know what? Their racism, I am who I am. Oh yes, I am black. I am from the great wars of the Benin Kingdom. I am the grandson of Ure. I am the true son of my mother, Queen. So I am who I am. And to all my black, resilient people, to my Asian people, for crying out loud, to the Kurdish people. You know, one of the greatest writer from Africa, Chinua Achebe, once said, unless the lion learns how to write its own story, the hunter will always glorify itself. I say it once more, unless the lion learns how to write its own story, the hunter will always glorify itself in its hunt. So you know what? Tell your story. Tell your story. For if not you,
Then who?
if not now,
Then when?
if not yet,
Then where?
I am who I am. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Irene and Collins. Next up, I want to call to the front Kayan Lam from Asian Raisins, an organization in the Netherlands fighting against Asian hatred and racism discriminated against Asian communities. So give it up for Kayan Lam.
It's really hard to follow this up. It's really nice to hear so much passion. But here I am on behalf of Asian Raisins. As a woman of East Asian descent, I have to deal with prejudice and racism every day. For example, yesterday I was walking through Utrecht Central with a friend of mine, and a group of young women came up to us. Said in English, "Are you afraid of COVID?" In English, even though we're Dutch, we speak Dutch perfectly, and we were wondering, is this just friendliness, or is it a joke for them? And if it's just a joke, or if it's just now, then for the first time, it could be coincidence. But it happens often, too often. And not only to me, but people alike. And not only in Utrecht, but everywhere we go. It is a subtle reminder that in our own society, we do not have a place. It is a reminder that racism and discrimination against Asians is still there. It has been for too long here without us saying anything. And it is ignored by the government. It is underrepresented in the media. And it is not taken seriously by the people at all. And that's why we started Asian Raisins. We started to speak up. We shared stories, so much untold stories. We created a platform for those who were unwilling to look away, who wanted to share their stories with us, share their pain, talk with us and with you. When the first lockdown started, there were Asian racist events everywhere. And it gave us the courage and the fire to fight back. And we were not the only ones. In the first 2 weeks of the startup of Asian Raisins, there were more than 2,000 people that joined our cause. Now we've got more than 14,000 people that we can reach every day. Sounds a lot, right? Well, it's not enough. If we really want to make a change, if we really want to make an impact, we need you guys. We need the government not to ignore us anymore. We need to show the media that racism is real, that Asians are being discriminated and being put away. So help us go to the influencers. Help us let them tell our story. Let us write to the media and show them that this is real, that we are people and that we are in pain. Let's go to organizations and put our hands together to make the Netherlands more inclusive. Together, we show them their role in the fight against racism. However, we cannot do this alone. We cannot do this alone with Asian Raisins. We need your voice. We need to help. We need your help to talk about racism, about Asian racism, about everything that's hurting us as people. It's even better if you join Asian Raisins. It's even better if you join your passion for standing here and your talent, perhaps even a bit of your money, to help us in our cause. So in short, help us, help Asian Raisins to grow, to fight, to make us stronger. Help us to fight against racism, to make the Netherlands a bit more inclusive. Not just for me, not only for you, but for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your speech. Next person I want to call to the front is Mauricio, who is also going to be reciting a poem for us today. So give it up for Mauricio.
Ik wil niet de volgende zijn. Ik wil niet de volgende zijn. En jullie mogen ook niet de volgende worden. Ik wil dat ik kon wensen dat niemand de volgende hoeft te zijn. Maar die dromen zijn vast nog bedrog. Ik wil geen nieuwe hashtag zien. Ik wil geen nieuwe hashtag zien omdat weer iemand van kleur dood is door excessief politiegeweld. Ik wil geen nieuwe hashtag Black Lives Matter. Want ik doe er toe. Ik doe er toe. Sterker nog, jullie doen er toe. Maar ik weet wel, met elke stap die ik zet, dat het mijn laatste ademzucht kan zijn. Mijn huidskleur mag geen reden zijn tot uitsluiting. Of de spot mee worden gedreven door racistische persoonlijkheden of als karikatuur. Ik voel mij niet minderwaardig. Ik ben niet minderwaardig. Maar toch wordt het me wel aangepraat. En hoe? En hoe? Vertel mij hoe. Vertel mij alsjeblieft hoe. Vertel mij hoe. Vertel mij hoe. Hoe ga ik mijn kinderen later uitleggen dat hun huidskleur negatieve reacties oproepen? Ik wil niet bang moeten zijn voor de toekomstbeeld. Maar ik moet er wel rekening mee houden. Ik wil niet bang zijn om als minder gezien of behandeld te worden. Ik wil niet bang zijn om als minder gezien of behandeld te worden. Ik wil dat het leven mij en mijn lotgenoten toelacht. Ik wil dat het leven mij en mijn lotgenoten toelacht. Ja, ik wil eerlijke kansen. Ik wil eerlijke kansen. En mijn achternaam mag geen reden zijn tot afwijzing. Of een nieuwe rol in een toeslagenaffaire. Of een nieuwe rol in een toeslagenaffaire. De enige slag waar ik betrokken in wil worden is de vergelijkheid en inclusiviteit. Ja, ik wil representatie zien. Ik wil representatie zien. Ik wil niet blijven kruipen in de rol van slachtoffer. Want die rol die past mij niet. Ik ben mij. Ik ben mij en wordt mede mogelijk gemaakt door mij. Niet door jouw mening of een mening van buitenaf. Ik ben mij. Ik word niet gemaakt door jou. Maar het is nu wel mijn tijd. Het is onze tijd om iets van de wereld te maken. Zijn wij soms te duister? Ben je soms bang voor zwarte macht, zwarte kracht? Een natuurlijke creatie is de puurste pracht. Want wij zijn alle Gods kinderen. Wij zijn zwart licht. Het licht in het duister. Wij zijn toekomstperspectief. Wij zijn de kinderen van koningen en koninginnen. Ik ben een koningskind. Ik ontvang jou gastvrij. In mijn woning vol van liefde. Ik ben een koningskind. En ik ontvang jou gastvrij in mijn woning vol van liefde. Ik zie jou als mijn gelijke. Maar wat vind jij belangrijk? Dank jullie wel, dat was de eerste. Toen ik gevraagd werd voor dit, dan ga je naar de tekentafel en dan ga je dingen uitschrijven. En ik had iets bedacht in mezelf, maar ik weet natuurlijk niet of het gaat lukken. Maar ik heb een opdracht voor jullie en we gaan het even oefenen. We gaan publieksparticipatie doen. Als ik mijn linkerhand omhoog steek, dan moeten jullie allemaal schreeuwen leef. Oké, dus als ik mijn linkerhand omhoog steek, zeggen jullie? Nee. Oké, maar nu doen alsof je het gelooft. Nee. Kan nog harder. Nee. Nog een beetje harder. Nee. Oké, ik denk dat dit gaat lukken. Mens. Nee. Mens. Nee. Dit gaat niet over overleven, maar overleven. Dus. Nee. Dus. Nee. Dus. Nee. Het maakt niet uit wie of wat je bent. Nee. Ook al heb jij je afkomst niet zelf gekozen. Nee. En ben je het systeem onbekend. Nee. En al ben je bekend met de vooroordelen en de stereotypen. Nee. Laat jezelf niet inkaderen. Laat jezelf niet inkaderen. Jij bent geen hokje nodig. Nee. Iedereen gelijk en toch noemen ze ons minder. Iedereen gelijk en toch noemen zij ons minder. Maar wat nou als jouw afkomst, geloof, gender, identiteit of geaardheid een ontmoeting in de weg staat? Maar jij bent jij, gevormd door het leven, positieve en negatieve ervaringen waar je niet altijd zelf vorm aan kunt geven. Dus sta op, kruip uit die put, bevrijd jezelf en... Bevrijd jezelf en... Bevrijd jezelf en... Vrij van angst en onderdrukking. Verberg jezelf niet langer in het donker. Ga staan in het licht en... Ga staan in het licht en... Na regen komt zonneschijn. Dat zeggen we toch altijd? Of is het een leugen? Want wordt het na dit alles dan toch weer ik en jij? Ik de individualist waar er geen plaats is voor wij? De tijd is nu om te veranderen. En niemand heeft het ooit van de tijd gewonnen. De tijd doodt ons allemaal langzaam. 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 Langzaam, langzaam. De tijd doodt ons allemaal langzaam. Dus laten wij verbinden nu het kan. Wij voor ik, hand in hand, collectieve belangen in onze gemeenschap. Waar racisme en fascisme geen stem hebben. Waar racisme en fascisme geen stem hebben. Waar racisme en fascisme geen stem hebben. Maak ruimte voor nieuwe inzichten. Omarm jouw eigen kwaliteiten en ondanks al jouw gebreken, jij bent waardevol. Dus gebruik je stem. Creëer nieuwe mogelijkheden. Inspireer, laat je motiveren. En verwonder je over een ander zijn talent. Stel jezelf open, want wie niet luistert, zal niet leren. Durf te dromen, reik naar de sterren. En leef. En leef. En leer van hen die jou zijn voorgegaan. Ontdek wie je bent. Je leeft door te begrijpen wie je bent. Door met anderen te zijn. Je hoeft niet te leven naar een vast beeld van wie of wat je bent. Sterker nog, als je leeft naar een vast beeld van wie of wat je bent, ben je meteen minder dan wat je zou kunnen zijn. Dus leef je leven. Dank jullie wel.
Again, I encourage everyone who's able to stand up as we begin our second round of chants and our second round of noise making. And just a disclaimer, while we're chanting, it would probably be best not to make too much noise with the things that were brought so that we can still hear the chants. And then there will be specific noise making moments throughout. Is that understandable? Okay.
Okay, I want to hear you very loud. When racists attack, we fight back.
When racists attack, we fight back.
When racists attack,
We fight back.
when racists attack, we fight back.
When racists attack, we fight back. We fight back. The people united will never be defeated. The people united will never be defeated. Say it loud, say it clear. Refugees are welcome here. Say it loud, say it clear. What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do we want it? What do we want? When do so much. The next person I'm going to call forward is Mohammed, who is going to give us a musical performance. So give it up for Mohammed, everyone.
Hallo, I'm Mohammed. Ik ben blij om hier te zijn en om dit met jullie te maken.
Bedankt.
The next person that I'm going to call to the front is Charles, who is also going to be reciting poetry for us today. So make some noise for Charles, everyone.
Hoe gaat-ie? Alles goed? Oké. Hey, mijn naam is Charles Goudsmit en ik noem mezelf een mensenrechtenactivist. We staan hier, 21 maart. 21 maart 1960, Sharpeville in Zuid-Afrika. Een demonstratie tegen pasjeswetten. 69 doden. Nog niet zo lang geleden stonden we hier met z'n allen. Black Lives Matter. We staan hier, ook zoals nu, te demonstreren tegen discriminatie en racisme. Nog niet zo lang geleden hebben wij gestemd. Wij verwachten verandering. Helaas, geen verandering. Links verliest, rechts wint. Maar politiek is niet daar in Den Haag. Politiek is niet in een klein kamertje waar besluiten worden genomen. Politiek is hier, met jullie samen. Politiek is ook met je vrienden, je relatie. Vandaag wil ik een verhaal vertellen. Verhaal over vriendschap. Over hoe we met elkaar omgaan. Het verhaal is ook het verhaal van de huidige situatie. De situatie waar wij soms niet weten waar we staan. Het is ook het verhaal van uitsluiting. Maar het is ook een verhaal dat ik graag met jullie wil delen. Ook een vraag aan jullie om dapper te zijn. Wij hebben dappere mensen nodig in deze tijd. Het is ook een verhaal dat ik steeds en steeds meer besef dat wij met elkaar moeten praten. Ik ga nu het verhaal vertellen over mijn vriendschap met een oudere dame. Het heet Zachtjes. Zo heet zij. Zij spreekt het uit in stilte. Floor. Zo oud was zij niet. In de 80, dat was toen. Nu, 10 jaar later, zijn we vrienden. Bevriend door onze gezamenlijke liefde voor het wandelen. Zij naast mij en ik net iets achter haar. Respect. Zij is al heel lang weduwe. Jaren gewoond in het buitenland. Haar man had daar een goede baan. Ik snap het wel, zei ze, zachtjes. Al kijkend naar de bomen die te vroeg zijn gewekt. Ik snap het wel. Die arme zwarte mannen en vrouwen en kinderen. De zee hebben hun ziel. God allemachtig. Zie ze dringen, ons land binnen. Gelukkig, zei ze, ben je binnen. Ik mag haar wel. In haar kleine wereld is geen angst, niet voor de dood. Wekelijks maken we ons rondje en nemen de wereldnieuws onder de loep. Nederland in het notendop. Zachtjes in ons kleine pasjes. Zo ook naar de stembus. En ik vroeg aan haar, op wie stem je? Moet je dat weten? Zei ze. Oké, ik stem op rechts. Haar pasjes op weg naar huis worden steeds langer. De mijne wordt steeds korter. Verwaard naar de dichtstaande deur bel ik aan, beseffend dat onze vriendschap nu begint. Zachtjes. Dank u wel.
Non-white Dutch citizens are 12 times more likely to be killed by the police than white Dutch people. Having a non-Western surname makes it harder to find housing, to find jobs, and ethnic profiling is what led to 26,000 families going bankrupt, losing their homes, and being tormented for years. So quite frankly, Mark Rutte, Thierry Baudet, and so many other politicians who deny institutional racism and deny our reality, I kindly ask you to shut the fuck up. I think you all probably know that the Dutch elections took place a few days ago. And I think most of you are also probably aware of what the results were. And I remember going to vote and constantly reminding myself to prepare for the worst. Anytime I noticed any sign of hope, I pushed it away immediately. And despite all of this, despite having extremely low expectations and zero faith in politicians, I was still completely heartbroken by the result of the elections. And so I cried. I cried for thousands of asylum seekers who will continue to be left to die by our government, who will continue to be treated like garbage and forced to live in isolation from society. I cried for my Muslim friends who for the next 4 years will keep being targeted and humiliated by politicians and treated as though they are a problem in this country. I cried for the Black community because once again, this country's 3 biggest political parties are all pro-K.O.Z.P and anti-Black, with Mark Rutte's party going so far as to say that in principle, they don't think cops need to be treated as suspects when they use brutal force. And I also cried for myself because I realized that whenever I go outside, the majority of people around me voted against my human rights, so they voted against me. I felt really defeated because, again, even after the toeslagenaffaire, which ruined 26,000 mostly migrant families' lives, which led to the Dutch cabinet stepping down just 2 months ago, Mark Rutte and his party faced no consequences. On the contrary, they were rewarded even more seats and more power. I felt defeated because people I thought were on my side were celebrating D66's massive win, a centrist party that votes against refugee rights and votes in favor of increasing police immunity. These things make me realize that a large majority of these politicians, a large majority of people, don't actually care about racial minorities. Left-wing parties who still fight to have more police on the streets, how can they say they truly care about us when they refuse to see us, when they acknowledge what we face, but still vote against us. I'm tired of symbolic victories that ultimately don't change anything. I'm tired of having to fight so hard for small wins like changing a street name. I'm tired of people putting a black square on Instagram or shouting for justice for Breonna Taylor, Tommy Holton, George Floyd, but then keeping quiet until the next tragedy happens. Of people going to protest just so they can post a picture to show that, oh, I'm one of the good ones. We don't need performativity. We don't need just Instagram posts of you wearing cute shirts that say Black Lives Matter, but then when you go home, you show that the opposite is true. To the white people here, we need you to step up. We need you to be uncomfortable. We need you to gather your people and properly educate them after you properly educate yourselves. We need you to do more than 5 minutes of research before you vote. We need you to amplify the voices of Black and brown activists. We need you to donate to our causes, sign our petitions, mobilize, hit the streets, and keep demanding change. Reject your white privilege and demand every day that we are treated equally. Because you do not get to keep quiet 90% of the time and then still say you are on our side. You do not get to keep quiet 90% of the time and then still think you're on the right side of justice. So take this as your official call to action and get to work. If we are forced to spend the next 4 years, again with a mostly racist government, the least we can do is make it as difficult as possible for them. The least we can do is show resistance. Thank you. I ask you all to stand up again if you're able to, as we take a moment of silence and we raise our fists in the air to commemorate all of the Black, Indigenous, and people of color who have lost their lives due to systemic racism. Thank you. I would like to call Fiona to the front as we're going to play a recording of a poem made by an asylum seeker who was staying at the Moria camp. While we figure out how to play the recording, I will call forth the next speaker. Sarah is a member of the Initiative for Diversity, Awareness and Inclusion. I think that's wrong. The abbreviation is IDEA. So give it up for Sarah.
Okay. I would like to start off with a quote by Horst Seehofer, the German Minister of the Interior, because I feel like this quote summarizes quite well the red line that seems to lead a lot of ideas of European politicians. He said, racially motivated discriminatory police practices do not exist because they are forbidden by law. This statement was made by him when he turned down a request for establishing numbers and basically statistics about racist police practices and interventions in Germany. Well, let me ask you then, Mr. Seehofer, if any kind of racist or discriminatory behavior is forbidden and therefore non-existent, what about the over 21,500 people that died since 2014 in the Mediterranean Sea because of European border politics? Isn't the right to life the most fundamental of them all? And how come that this fundamental right seems to lose value to you as soon as the people concerned were not born on the continent you live on? And isn't child labor and slavery also forbidden by law? But what about, for example, the working conditions and death rates in the coltan mines in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where people, including children, work for European companies, mobile phones, laptops, tablets, etc., where people die on a daily basis so that European companies can produce electronic devices to an even cheaper price? And since the if it is forbidden by law, it does not exist logic is followed by you, let me ask, did colonialism not also officially end in most of the countries many years ago? But how come then that former colonizers continue to exploit former colonies? That through trade agreements and market controls, the amount of economic wealth these countries could actually possess is tried to be kept at a minimum? Just as attempts to gain real independence, not just the independence you suggest, because this independence you suggest is actually just entailing keeping them as your puppets. And after all, how is it possible that while Europe's wealth is actually built on the exploitation and the resources of those countries, you still have the audacity to call them underdeveloped? Furthermore, since there exist no discriminatory practices because they are forbidden by law, how come that 75% of all COVID-19 vaccines are administered by only 10 countries, and that 130 countries around the world still have not received a single dose? How come that most countries from the global north can sign pre-production agreements with vaccine manufacturers and subsequently are able to buy them all up, while at the same time vetoing resolutions of the World Trade Organization, resolutions that would actually enable every country to purchase vaccines? What about the statistics from the USA, for example, that show that black men are 2.5 times more likely to be shot or to be killed in police custody than white men, while being twice as likely to be unarmed when being fatally shot? And what about the over 180 complaints about racist police action in Germany, of which only 5 were started to be prosecuted? Mr. Seehofer, the logic that something is forbidden by law and therefore it does not exist does simply not work. Unfortunately, you're not alone with this idea. A lot of European politicians govern with these same dangerous ideas. Those politicians simply fail to recognize, confront, or dismantle the racist structures countries are built upon, and that continue to lead their political action or inaction. By pretending that something is not there and therefore it does not exist. It's simply not how it works. It's not how it is. It won't make it go away. And it's been way too long that we let them uphold those harmful, inhumane policies that are sometimes even lethal. Thank you. I would just like to quickly point out, yes, as already has been said, I'm a member of IDEA, so an initiative for diversity, empowerment and awareness. And so, yeah, we basically organize events, workshop lectures to promote non-Western knowledge, but also to raise awareness about structural inequalities in society. And if any of you is interested in what we are doing, or even in becoming a member, becoming active, we would, love that and love to get to know you. So maybe after the protest, if you're interested, you can either approach me or Haiha, who is also doing the chants with the blue scarf. Exactly. Thank you very much.
Now we are going to play the poem written by Parwana Armini. She's a 17-year-old poet and human rights activist from Afghanistan. And currently she's living in the Ritsona camp close to Athens.
Burn. It's not to mark the date, it's to raise the alarm. The fire has burned our homes. The fire has burned our schools. The fire has burned our hospitals. The fire has burned our dreams. We are burning. We search for your eyes. You have torn them away. You have hidden your faces. Who is the criminal? Not the fire, for sure. Where are those who cursed us? Those afraid we threaten their wealth? Come on and see. Do you dare to look at the sun? Better avert your eyes. Hide and lock yourselves in your homes. We are silent so that you hear us.
Give it up for Parwana. And now we are going to go into our third round of chants and our third round of noise making.
Okay. No borders, no nation.
Stop deportations!
No borders, no nation. Stop deportation.
No borders, no nations!
Stop deportation.
No borders, no nations!
Stop deportation. No borders, no nation. Stop deportation.
No borders, no nations! Stop deportations! Say it loud, say it clear. Refugees are welcome here.
Say it loud, say it clear. Refugees
Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter!
Truth be told, this is not how it has to be. You are looking, but you can't see. The truth is in front of the world, and still we are accepting blood to be cleaned. From the opposite side, our brains are lost in our minds. We are the forgotten people of the Promised Land. We are the forgotten people of the motherland. Because after a long trip of death, maggots enjoy the treat of fresh, rotten flesh. The spirits of our ancestors, we have to honor them in rituals to help us connect. I honor you. I am a part of you. Our DNA is all over the place, and still they cannot diminish our race. You don't know who you are, and that's really the case. Make place for an evolution. Make a way now that we are no longer bound to that idea. That state of physical freedom was declared. Liberty is in the mind. We are blind with our eyes open wide. And my ability to see my people's tragedy and turn that around by making them proud by unity. We are all kings and queens, you see. And they don't want us to know who we be. We are all kings and queens, you see. And they don't want us to know who we be. Thank you. En ik wil ook wat zeggen. Het is heel belangrijk dat we met elkaar blijven praten en dat we in gesprek met elkaar blijven gaan. En dat betekent dus dat we moeten luisteren. En dan wil ik een heel klein stukje delen met jullie wat belangrijk is in een gesprek. Er wordt niet geluisterd naar de woorden die je zegt. Want je mag niet eens uitpraten als je wat uitlegt. Een gesprek is een wisselwerking van begrip en respect. En niet om de ander te overtuigen van je eigen recht. Je hoort me wel, maar je luistert niet naar wat ik zeg. Thank you.
Our final speaker of today is Yasmin from the International Socialists. She's going to be reading a speech written by Max, who could not be here today. So give it up for Yasmin.
Hey comrades, thank you for coming out today. As I am pre-writing this speech, I do not yet know how many of you will have come out, but I'm certain that my comrades are standing together with many of you right now. I'd like to start by talking about the elections. Many of us feel demotivated, scared, and frustrated by the results. That frustration is understandable. With the small exception of BIJ1 entering parliament, the left is losing ground, and the right is getting increasingly powerful. The FAD have made electoral gains despite their more and more openly neo-fascist orientation, crude anti-Semitism, and racism. Together with other far-right groups, they have been able to build more and more of a street movement, also here in Groningen. That is a danger that we should not underestimate. The far right finds power in these moments, and they clearly realize this as they have already announced that their tours through the country will continue even after the election. As anti-racist organizers, we hope that this coalition, but also all of you who are here in support today, will be a force that shows up, fights right-wing organizing and street action in Groningen when they happen. The realities of the reactionary Corona riots and the far-right mobilizing mean even more now that we must not leave the streets to them. These are our cities and our streets, and we must continue to show up. As understandable as the frustration about the elections is, the election results is, do not let this demotivate you. Do not let this make you think the struggle or the people are a lost cause. This outcome is not the result of people being dumb. What we are looking at is a result of refusal of organizing struggle from the left parties and the success of the right in blinding and misguiding people based on their fears. When the left is weak in action and theory, the right has an easy ground for their politics of scapegoating and dividing the working class. Cutting social securities is not in the interest of the majority in this country. Defunding the healthcare system is not in the interest of the majority in this country. Housing insecurity isn't. War isn't. Practically ignoring the pandemic isn't. Neither is racism. The reality is that people are voting against their own interest. That doesn't give anyone a pass. I'm not telling you not to be angry. We should be fucking angry. My point here is that there is a difference between objective interests and what people think they need. It is our role to get active, also outside of established activist circles and universities, and motivate people to fight. Because in fighting, we make the biggest collective learning experiences. The politics of the far right and the realities of racism are tools that seek to divide us and justify the hyper-exploitation of some. They are tools that give the illusion that we do not have shared interests, that we cannot fight together because we supposedly have different things to worry about. I don't want to say some hippie bullshit about all of us being the same. That's just not true. Our experiences and struggles differ, yes, but at the same time, they are inextricably connected. Great anti-racist thinkers like Kwame Ture, Fred Hampton, and Angela Davis have been clear on the need to fight capitalism to truly overcome the roots that give power to systems of oppression and division. We agree with them, and for us that means realizing the necessity of solidarity and working class unity. The practice of solidarity, of standing shoulder to shoulder with someone who might have different experiences than you, comes out of the realization that you have been pitted and played against someone who is not your enemy by someone who is. The problem in our society is not this or that racial or sexual minority, as the right wants us to believe. It is a different kind of minority, a tiny minority of people who hold the vast majority of wealth in our society, who take away the things that vast majority of us need to live. Things like healthcare, food, housing, leisure, education, freedom from debt, an environment that isn't poisoned and destroyed by profit, not being harassed by police for stepping out of line or existing. It is a minority that forces us to give up on our dreams and sell our lifetime to someone else day after day. This ruling class has an interest in keeping this deception up. They build governments, institutions, politics in ways that keep the lie alive that makes us believe that we as working class people do not have all these shared interests, when in fact we do. The working class is diverse. It has many different yet connected experiences. It has different abilities and disabilities. It is black and brown and Jewish and trans and Asian. That means we must stand up against all forms of oppression, because all forms of oppression are a threat to our collective power. Let's use this collective power more often, and like today, stand shoulder to shoulder against bigotry, against exploitation and racism in our masses. That is how we get to beat fascism. Before I come to an end, a word to the many people that have joined in solidarity today. We had 3 protests this month with hundreds of people. That is amazing. Thank all of you who come out here, who show up, who take space, who speak up. You are amazing. At the same time, when looking at the activist organizations in Groningen, all of us need more folks to get involved. Considering the election results and the realities of structural discrimination and oppression, there are so many things that still need to be done, and we can only do them if you join us. I realize this is not the most popular thing to say, but it is not enough to vote left and show up for a demo from time to time. If you are not organized yet, join a union, join a revolutionary organization, join an activist group. We are very proud to have been able to co-organize this as International Socialists Groningen, together with the Groningen Feminist Network, IDEA, K.O.Z.P, Decolonize Groningen, BIJ1 and others. If you think that ours or any of the other organizations' approaches and politics speak to you, approach us. Approach us here or send us a message online and ask how you can get involved. The time for passivity is not now. My final words for today: we have to keep reminding ourselves and each other of the simple reality that we are many and they are few. No matter how things might look at the surface sometimes, if we begin to work and organize with this realization, we can deeply and thoroughly change society and create a world where we have never seen before, a world of solidarity and equality. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much to everybody who showed up. But the worst thing you can do after today is nothing. So like Yasmin said, make an effort to mobilize. People from all of the organizers are here, so after the demo you can find us on the Grote Markt. You're all welcome to join. We always need more people so that we can make a bigger impact. And I think we should probably end today by making as much noise as we can and telling white supremacists to go fuck themselves. So make some noise. Power! 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 Power!
One more chance for all. Fight fascism, build solidarity. Come on, fight fascism, build solidarity. 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 All right, thank you. One more thing. Please don't forget to maintain distance while leaving. Keep your mask on until you're way out and not in the crowd anymore. Please be safe and get home well and keep fighting this good fight, everyone. Thank you so much for showing up.